Hi everyone, Mrs. Ivester here again, and I'm excited to share with you a special read aloud for Earth Day. I'm reading from my backyard today, and it looks like our cat Joni wants to join us here. And of course we have Rose, who wouldn't miss a story. And I have two books. One is called The Tree Lady, and the other one is called Hay Water. And I picked these two books because they're new to me. They're brand new books in children's literature. Hay Water just won a couple of awards at some of the recent children's literature awards. And I'm going to start with this one. It's by Antoinette Portis, and it's about this little girl who discovers how much water is around her every single day. Hey water, I know you. You're all around. You trickle and gurgle. And rush towards the sea. You cover most of the earth, salty, surging, and mysterious. Sometimes you lie quiet and calm. I stomp in you and scatter droplets everywhere. In the morning, you wink at me from blades of grass. Sometimes you slide down my cheek without a sound. Sometimes you roar and pour. Water, even when you try to fool me, I know you. You blast and huff, you whistle and puff. You hide in the air and drift. You drift in the air and hide the world. Sometimes you freeze hard as a rock that floats. And fancier than lace, but water, I know it's you. You're hiding in this funny guy, and you're hiding in me. Water, you're a part of every living thing. And the back has a few different cool pages. This one describes all of the ways that water forms, whether it's in a liquid, solid, or a gas. And the book had different examples of all of these. And then this page over here has a really great picture and explanation of the water cycle. We have condensation that then leads to precipitation. We collect the water, and then it evaporates back up into the sky and goes around and around and around. This cycle has repeated over and over again for millions of years. And the very last page talks about different ways that we can conserve water. And especially on this Earth Day, I think thinking of all of these different points are really important as we think about the world around us and all the beauty that's in the world and all we're trying to do to help save our Earth, to make it last. Joni, I'm going to switch books on you. I'm going to put this one here. Glad you're enjoying our reading time. And I'm going to now read this one to you, which is called The Tree Lady. This is a biography, which means it's a book about a person. And this biography happens to be about Kate Sessions. And here's what the inside cover says. It says, "Meet Kate Sessions, a young woman with a grand passion for trees. She has guts, she has vigor, and she has a vision a green leafy vision that will one day transform a city. And learning about her story was something I actually hadn't heard before reading this book. And Kate Sessions lived a long time ago. The dates will be here in the story once I get started. And she really did change the way that a city looked. And she has still had an effect on the city. I'm not going to tell you the name of the city yet. Let's start our story together. Catherine Olivia Sessions grew up in the woods of Northern Carolina. She gathered leaves from oaks and elms. She collected needles from pines and redwoods. And she braided them together with flowers to make necklaces and bracelets. It was the 1860s, and girls from Kate's side of town weren't supposed to get their hands dirty, but Kate did. Kate listened well in school. She learned how to write and count. She remembered the poems and stories she read. But best of all, she liked studying wind and rain, muscles and bones, plants and trees, especially trees. Most girls were discouraged from studying science, but not Kate. Look, this is the same illustration as on the cover. Kate felt that trees were her friends. She loved the way they reached toward the sky and how their branches stretched wide to catch the light. Trees seemed to Kate like giant umbrellas that sheltered her and the animals, birds, and plants that lived in the forest. Not everyone feels at home in the woods, but Kate did. When Kate grew up, she left home to study science at college. She looked at soil and insects through a microscope. She learned how plants made food and how they drank water, and she studied trees from around the world. No woman had ever graduated from the University of California with a degree in science. But in 1881, Kate did. After graduation, Kate took a job in Southern California. When her boat docked in San Diego, she saw that her new home was a desert town. Kate never thought she would live in a place with very few trees. But now she did. Kate began her job as a teacher. She was also the vice principal of the school, so she had to make sure that everyone followed the rules. Kate missed studying science and was not sure she would stay on the job. But for 2 years, she did. From her school, Kate could see the city park in the hills above town. It was called a park, but it didn't look like one. It was where people grazed cattle and dumped garbage. Most San Diegans didn't think trees could ever grow there, but Kate did. With Kate's love for the woods, she thought San Diego needed trees more than anything else. So she left teaching to become a gardener. She knew she must plant trees that could live in dry soil with lots and lots of sunshine. Her friends worried Kate wouldn't find trees like that, but she did. Here's an example of some of the trees that she found. Kate became a tree hunter. She wrote letters to gardeners all over the world and asked them to send her seeds that could grow in a desert. She also traveled south to Mexico to look for trees that liked hot, dry weather and steep hills and canyons. Not everyone knows how to hunt for trees, but Kate did. Soon Kate's trees were planted along streets, around schools, and in small parks and plazas all over town. People brought trees from Kate's nursery and planted them in their yards. From elms and oaks to eucalyptus and palms, By the turn of the century, young trees from Kate's nursery were growing in every part of San Diego. Most people didn't think a desert town could sustain so many trees, but Kate did. Then in 1909, the city leaders announced that a great fair called the Panama Californian Exposition was coming to San Diego in 1915. The fair would be held in the city park, which was now called Balboa Park. Kate felt Balboa Park still needed more trees, thousands more, to look beautiful and to shade the visitors that came to the fair. That was too many trees for Kate to plant by herself, but she knew lots of people could go do it together. She asked her friends to bring their friends and to come to the park for tree planting parties. Again and again, people volunteered to help. Those volunteers weren't sure they could plant enough trees, but before long, they did. And when the fair opened, San Diego was ready. Millions of trees and plants filled Balboa Park. The fair had so many visitors, it stayed open for 2 years instead of 1. People came from near and far to see the attractions and stroll in the cool shade. The fairgoers couldn't believe San Diego had such magnificent gardens, but thanks to Kate, it did. In the years after the fair, Kate was given many awards for her work, and people took to calling her the mother of Balboa Park. She continued gardening and planting trees until her death in 1940. Back then, few could have imagined that San Diego would become the lush, leafy city it is today. But all along, year after year, Catherine Olivia Sessions did. Thanks for joining me again for another Read Aloud time with Rose and I. We hope you enjoyed our stories that we picked out for Earth Day, and we only wish you the best Earth Day. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Be safe and be well.